has hailed the inauguration of US President Joe Biden. His administration is expected to mark a new beginning for relations between the US and Europe. The two are not only the world's top trading powers, but also share close cultural, historical, business and defense ties. The EU has expressed relief as former US President Trump's controversial America First policy comes to an end. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that this new dawn in America is the moment that everyone was waiting for.
This new dawn in America is the moment we've been waiting for so long. Europe is ready for a new start with our oldest and most trusted partner. And this is why the Commission recently has adopted a new forward-looking transatlantic agenda. And it focuses on where we can together join to push for global change based on our common values, interests and global influence. From climate change to health, from digitalization to democracy, these are global challenges that need renewed and improved global cooperation. And the European Union and the United States must lead from the front and bring an alliance of like-minded partners with us.
Relations between the European Union and the United States had hit a new low under Trump's presidency. The Biden administration gives a new hope that the United States would again become a vital partner to tackle important issues. Ambassadors from the EU bloc consider 5 broad policy areas where they see greater cooperation with Biden administration. This includes the COVID-19 pandemic, economic recovery, climate change, promoting peace and security, and upholding shared values. EU lawmakers are debating a new digital policy that would have implications for tech giants like Google, Facebook and Apple. Von der Leyen also proposed that setting up EU and US Common Technology Council could be a first step to draw a template for global digital regulation that the world could follow. Daniel Winter, correspondent from DW, is joining us live from Berlin for more on this. Thanks for being with us on this broadcast. Now, is Europe expecting a return to business as usual from the pre-Trump era?
Well, they certainly hope so, and we heard from Ursula von der Leyen there, but I'd like to add another big EU voice to that from German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who said, "Don't think that from tomorrow there will only be harmony between us, there will also be arguments." So it's not all a positive tone yet, and that's because there's a kind of a Trumpian hangover left on that transatlantic relationship. After all, Donald Trump, when he was president, introduced billions of euros of tariffs on EU goods, which are still in place, actually, and of course threatened to put sanctions on companies involved in the building of a gas pipeline from Russia to Germany. So there's still a lot open there, and the one thing when it comes to Biden that the EU is looking at is whether he will use the removal of tariffs or the removal of the threat of sanctions as a kind of a sweetener to get the EU to cozy up with the US. Now that would be a very Trumpian tactic.
Now, what does Biden hope to get out of the EU?
Well, there's a whole range of things, and it is, of course, a give and take. So what Biden is hoping to give is rejoining some of these big multilateral agreements which the EU has backed, such as the Paris Climate Accord, or maybe even talks, nuclear talks with Iran, and that would show that the US is on the same page with its EU allies. But in return, he may want to actually see through some of those things that Donald Trump wanted, such as the end to the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. But the elephant in the room is, of course, China. Now, the EU signed an investment agreement with China at the end of last year, and that was intended to level the competitive playing field for companies, the European companies doing business in China. But Biden specifically said that he wanted the EU to hold back on that until he was in office. After all, Biden wants to show a united front against China on a whole range of political and economic issues. But the EU went ahead and did that deal anyway. Now, in the Trump years, it seems that the EU found its voice and went ahead with some big initiatives without consulting America first. And it's clear Biden notices that, and he commented on the fact that the bilateral ties between Europe and the EU between the EU and the US were frayed even during his first days in office. It was one of the first things that he said about his about multilateral relationships in the US.
On that, Daniel, Biden's initial focus, we heard in his speech, is on the domestic issues facing the US, but he is of course concerned with the relations on a global stage. What is the way forward with the EU?
Well, often people use this time to take stock, when there's a new president in the US, to take stock of the geopolitical situation. Now, of course, Biden says he wants to reach out to allies. He could do that by, for example, in Europe's case, by dropping those billions of euros worth of tariffs. But when it comes to China, it's a lot more complicated picture, because China is, of course, becoming an economic superpower, and Europe risks being caught in the middle, because it's not likely that with Biden that the tensions that exist between the US and China are going to go away anytime soon. And Europe can't afford to just forge its own path here and go its own way. It has to, in a way, try and pick sides, or at least balance the relationship between the two. If you look at Europe, yes, its economy is very strong and it does important trade deals and all around the world, but out of the top 50 companies by market capitalization in the world, only 3 of those are based in Europe, and only 1 of those is a tech company. So Europe is clearly falling behind in the industry which matters most, so it does need those partnerships to move forward. Now, earlier I mentioned Angela Merkel, and she was cautious, but in the end she said there's more room for agreement with President Biden than with his predecessor, so that's a start.
Right. We'll leave it there, Daniel. Thank you very much for being with us for all the latest on that. Now, moving on his first full day in the White House, US President Joe Biden moved swiftly